Oh my god, you can see my pajama pants. That is utterly embarrassing. Okay, that's a lot better. Hey everybody, it's Angelica. If you didn't know, it's currently very, very cold where I live, and it's incredibly overwhelming because there's snow in the forecast and quite a bit of it, and I have to do a lot before that arrives. So I have a really, really busy day today, but I guess I can't really call this a fall routine anymore, but it is what it is. So this is kind of like a day in my life preparing for there to be a huge snowstorm. So I'll just take you along with me, and yeah, that's kind of just the plan for today. So currently I am just fixing what I look like because there are actual people around, because I got here a bit later than normal. I had some things to do at home. And now you can see all of the horses are currently in their stalls, all of the ones who are in the stalls today. There were some that were turned out that needed to be brought in, but my stable hands who were here earlier, as I said, than me, got that done for me. You can see Francesca is being very impatient with her head over her stall door, but that's okay. I'm just saying hi to everyone, making sure no one is lame or uncomfortable, and then I'm just gonna get on with the feedings. So now that everybody is fed, I already have something I need to do. So I went and grabbed Bravo, who, as you can see, is shown right there. He was a little grumpy to be taken away from his hay, but he'd finished his other food that he needed to eat, so figured it'd be okay. And he usually gets exercised early in the morning when it's not super busy and there's a lot less for him to spook at because he can be a little skittish. But I just tacked him up and took him out for a little ride, a little jumping. We went over to a jumping thing across the way over kind of near where Steve's farm is, but it's a different area. So I guess I'll put a little montage over that so I'm not talking the entire time. Yeah. The next part of my day takes me all the way down to Silverglade Riding Arena for a lesson with one of my newer students and my horse Casino, who some of you may know from my trying horses video a couple of months ago. So my student, her name is Aria, and today she was just gonna work on some jumping stuff. She has been riding for a few months, but only started riding at this barn like about a year ago, I think. And so she is actually leasing Casino, which is really exciting because it's both his and her first lease, her first time leasing a horse and his first time being leased. I feel like I'm kind of blabbering at this point, but I thought I'd give you the gist of it. So as you can see, she's just kind of warming him up, cantering him around, making sure he's used to all the surroundings, and then they started doing some very small jumps at a trot before working up to a canter and doing the bigger jumps. I'm going to stop talking your ear off now and put a little montage. So now that that lesson is over, I'm back up at the barn, and it's been a little while since then. I've changed, I've done a few chores I had to do, some paperwork, and now I am on my way to try out some new ponies for lease and lesson, because I've had a lot of horses coming and going around this time of year, as that tends to be, so I am on my way to go do that. The first pony I'm trying is a 14-year-old Welsh Connemara cross gelding named Foxfire. He's not a particularly famous horse by any means, but I've seen him in a few local shows and he caught my eye when I saw his ad on Instagram. He was a bit out of the price range I was looking at, but I figured it'd be worth it if he made a great addition to our lesson program. As you can see, I took some GoPro footage of me just trotting around and doing all the stuff. Eventually, I do get to a full body view from my drone so that you can see how he looks. I noticed almost instantly he had absolutely no vices around my legs or his bridle, which was good, and I figured that with the very smooth gaits he could be easier for littler kids. I was impressed by his willingness to do things. He didn't seem angry or slow, and overall, from the second I got on him, I was very impressed. It'd be an obvious choice to get a horse like this, but I do have some I was looking to try later on, so I guess we'll have to see. I'll put the rest of the footage here of trying him, and you can see how he looks. The next part of my day is a lesson with a familiar face, Rutabaga. I don't technically own Rutabaga. This is his owner who's currently riding him, although I have had him at my barn for a very long time, and he is a trusted and loved member of the lesson program. I guess technically this doesn't really count as a lesson, as I wasn't really instructing, but I was just watching them, giving them a few tips on what they could work on, and honestly, it was more of a chance for Rutabaga's owner to ride him since she hadn't been out to the barn in a long time due to busy things with her own life. It was awesome to see how happy she looked riding Rutabaga again, and I was glad these two could work together, even if it was just for a small amount of time tackling little barrels and jumps. I gave them a few tips on how they could get a little easier time bending around the barrels if she used more leg and less rein, as Rutabaga responds much easier to leg than rein. After that, they did seem to tackle the bends much easier with less fighting each other and much just more of a smooth look to it. They did some over-the-jump transitions from trot into canter, and honestly, it was just nice to see them having a good time. Very nice. Beautiful. Just remember, if he starts fighting you trying to get out to that outside rail, he's going to win. You can't win just by tugging on his face because he's automatically going to be stronger than you. It'd be easier to just try and take him in a circle and do it all over again. Very good. Nice job on the encouragement with that leg. He does need a bit more energy to get over the bigger cross rails. After that lesson, I had some so fun jobs to do. I had to take my Cobb Franklin to our on-site vet because he blew his shoe and is just generally having some issues with his leg, so it's making him lame, and I didn't want him to hurt himself more by being in a stall or anything like that, so I consulted her, and she said just leave him there for a little while, she'd take good care of him. So I took him into one of these little pastures, gave him some snuggles, and called it a day. You can see just how thrilled I am as I walk away. A newer face around the barn is Miss Diablo. I'm riding her right now. She's some kind of a cross of a Tennessee Walker, but we don't really know her breeding as she was rescued from a terrible place. When I bought her, she was terrified and head shy, and I couldn't put even a blanket on when it got cold, and much less get her into a stall. I have been working with her for a little over 2 months now, and we have made a ton of progress. She's able to be fully tacked now, except for boots. We haven't quite gotten there. But as you can see, I'm just taking her on a little trail. We haven't been doing much besides simple walking, trotting on the trails, walking on the beaches, getting her accustomed to everything that she's never really seen before. But so far it's been going really well. I really love working with her. She's a super sweet mare. And, I can't blame her for her past, and I'm just glad she's in a place where she can thrive. She is really good with other people. It's not one of those situations where only one person has been able to get to her. All of the people who've been helping me train her, she's began to slowly form really good bonds with, and I imagine that one day when she's used to loud sounds and messy riding, then maybe she'd be good in our lesson program. I do have her registered with a show name, which is Devil's Deal, but I don't think I'm going to be showing her anytime soon, as that sounds like a lot of things that would make her really anxious. For now, I'm just happy that I'm able to get on her back and we can have a fun time. And once again, it is pony time. It's a bit later in the afternoon now, but this sweet man is Percy. He is some kind of a Gotland cross, but also a rescue, so they aren't entirely sure of his breeding or age. They think he's probably somewhere around 15 years old. He's much smaller than Foxy, which I didn't know was possible because they are both very small horses, so I did feel a little bit big on him, but they said it was totally fine, and they have had taller people than me ride him. He was very willing and easygoing. I could tell that he had had a lot of experience with a lot of different kinds of riders because he responded well to both leg and rein, and he didn't seem too fussy about lifting up his legs when it's time to go over poles. And the owner said that he did do a lot of jumping and could jump shockingly high for his height. I had no struggles getting him to go over poles, whether it was at a walk, trot, or canter, even if it didn't seem like it was really his favorite thing. His canter was very smooth, as was his trot, even though it was definitely that quick pony trot. I worked him over things, just getting him used to them so he wouldn't spook, although he did seem relatively bomb-proof, and after quite a while of getting him warmed up, eventually we did get to a jump. After plenty of warming up, we did finally get to a jump, and wow, I was so impressed. He barely needed any leg, he flew over those jumps like he was born to do it, and it was honestly one of the smoothest pony jumps I've ever experienced. Eventually, after a little while, we went into the bigger ring, and they said I could tackle some of the bigger jumps. Once again, he flew over them like it was just easy peasy, and it was just, I had so much fun. I had flashbacks to trying out Casino, as I was just so amazed by how such a young and little horse could fly over these jumps with such ease, but it was great. I had an awesome time. So I sort of lost track of time, but after our lesson, quote unquote, had ended, I took him on a little trail ride out of the ring, and it was great. This guy would definitely not be on a back burner. He would be in the front of my mind for quite a while, and I was so happy to have the opportunity to try him. By the time I got home, I knew I had so much to do still and so little time, as in the winter it gets so dark so quickly. It was only about 4, but the sun was already setting and it was getting colder. As you can see, I was putting on some blankets and some wraps to horses in the field just to keep them warm and safe. Here's Chili and here is Fiasco, and I'm just sort of walking around giving cuddles, pets, putting on blankets, and this takes up actually way more time than you'd think. I only filmed about 3 of them, but there were about 6 horses that I had to get ready for the cold. Normally we try and avoid having horses out when it gets really cold or when it snows, but we just don't have enough space in the stable for everyone to, and they're not in danger by any means. They're safe, but it's just, here is my sweet boy Montero. He got extra cuddles off camera. I sat with him for like 10 minutes, aimlessly scrolling on my phone and just hanging out with him, but he looks so handsome in his pink gear, and yeah. Then comes all the feeding. By the time I had done this, I had already fed all of the inside horses with the help of some of my stable hands and just some people who were there taking care of their own horses. They offered to help, which was really sweet. Then I'm filling up food and water for the outside fields. This is probably my least favorite thing to do because somehow I end up getting wet every single time, and it's just too cold to be covered in hose water. It really is. But it takes longer than I would like, but it's okay because it is 1000% worth it to make sure that my sweet babies have enough stuff. Then I went over to the cow's field. We have some longhorns here, and it was like dark by now, which isn't really fun, but you know what? It's okay. I'm used to it. And I was just saying hi to some of the cows and making sure that they had plenty of hay and water for the night. And last but not least, I am going over to the chickens, which you'll see in a minute, to give them some seed and make sure that they also have water and are able to get into the coop. Thank you so much if you're still here after all 24 minutes of this. I can't get over how beautiful the snow is. I'm just here with Bravo. He's a little chilly and a little impatient, as am I, but it's so nice to be here. I hope everybody is staying happy and safe and spending this lovely winter holiday season, whatever you want to call it, with doing something that they love with people that they love, and thank you.